I'm on good. Snatched that cork and went gone. Y'all, this popping cork is crushing it. Fred on the popping cork. This redfish just crushed it. Y'all don't use popping corks? This is why you use a popping cork right here. I want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success in the best possible way when I go out there with a popping cork. So I wanted to do some underwater testing to see if I could figure out what the best knot to use was for these lures underwater. The two knots I chose are a loop knot and a cinch knot. Those are the most common knots used for leader to lure connections. So for the first test, I actually used our OG prawn. On the first test, it was with a loop knot. And the second test, it was with a cinch knot. And here's what I found. From the video results, we were able to figure out that the prawn on the loop knot did in fact have a tendency to remain vertical. If we popped it a little bit, it did have a bit more of a darting action, and it would quickly go to sort of a vertical fall, and that didn't always have the most natural look unless it was sitting in some current that was causing it to move. Now, just for reference, this is a saltwater pool, and I tried to be near a jet, not exactly on top of it, but near it so that we could be fair with current conditions. But if I didn't have current, that lure just seemed to fall almost vertical in a vertical fashion like this, rather than stay horizontal or even give me any kind of natural look. Now, with the second test, as I tried it with a cinch knot, I noticed that the prawn had a more gliding fall, had a more natural fall. It maybe suspended a bit more before it reached its full descent to the bottom. It took a second or two longer for it to fall all the way to the end of that leader. Now, I also noticed that it did have a bit of a 3/4 tilt there. It never quite made it vertical like it would with a loop knot. So it almost seemed that it had a bit more of a natural presentation with the cinch knot. So I can say that maybe in that situation, that instance, the cinch knot was the winner. Now, moving on to the second test, I decided to try out the Fred paddle tail. That's our Fred 2.0, and I tried that out, and I was able to find out something interesting. It seemed no matter whether it be the loop knot or the cinch knot, the Fred seemed to have performed in almost a similar manner. It would always fall to about a 3/4 tilt. It never went full vertical, and it never really stayed fully horizontal. So I couldn't really tell much of a difference with that 2.0 profile. Now, the third test I did was with a Z-Man product with their Elastec plastic. I did that with a Minnow Z. And what I found with the Z-Man products was actually quite interesting. It seemed to be that no matter whether I used a loop knot or whether I used a cinch knot, the lure seemed to perform in much of the same manner. The lure seemed to stay in more of a horizontal direction, even when I left it at almost a complete dead kill. It seemed to stay in that horizontal fashion. So with all of this testing done, I can tell you guys with certainty, I learned one thing. The loop knot is probably not the best option to go with for your leader to lure connection when we're talking about using a popping cork. It seemed to me that the cinch knot seemed to work just as good or better than the loop knot when concerning these popping cork lure presentations. So I know for my personal preference moving forward, I will make sure that I'm using a cinch knot when I'm putting a lure on the end of a popping cork. It seems like that could be the best way to have that jig head or that lure presentation down there up under that cork in the best way. Now, if you guys have any questions for me about this test specifically, love to hear from you guys. Make sure you leave those questions for me down in the comments section. And as always, you guys know if you want to pick up any of these tackle items, you can always do that by just clicking the name of the item below, and it'll take you straight to the tackle shop. Until next time, we appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next video.